Suzu, do you have any topics you would like to address?
Not really.
What are you wearing?
Shorts?
So yeah,
That was actually kind of a weird main show, though, wasn't it?
it was. It was actually like kind of
Serious.
accessible to other people other than
Yeah, there was
just-
like, at times I felt like compelled to throw in like gay jokes and stuff like that because like I was like, oh my god, we're being like really like accessible right now.
I can't do this. I have to swear. I'm just gonna scream a swear word.
I was like, oh shit, we're talking about like normal stuff with like intelligent discussion for once.
So, are we basically done with the game difficulty and bugs topic, or is there more to be said?
There's one thing I wanted to add was that they were talking about developing for a niche market and developing to a broader market. And I think that most games that are successful, like I mean really, really successful, sans, like Call of Duty, because that's just so broad, it, appeals to everyone. Most games that are really successful are developed for a niche market. Like Nintendo's first-party
Yeah.
titles, things like Grand Theft Auto, things like Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, to mention those again, things like Portal. Those are developed for a niche market, but end up being very successful because they're very focused in one area and they excel in that area. Whereas games
Right, one thing I wanted to say was like
It-
going on with what you're saying. Sorry, Kyle, I'll let you finish, but I'm gonna let you finish. But
How about you finish?
yeah, we just went there. Only like 2 years too late. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, what he was saying like about games that cater to a niche, they are popular and they get that payback for doing that. So I'm saying like, if games they get rewarded for sticking to their guns, like why are we not seeing more of it then?
because the developers, specifically Activision and EA, want to develop for a broader market so they compete with casual gaming, like
But I mean,
Fortnite
okay,
and
sure,
all that.
because a developer cares only
so-
about the numbers, right?
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
sale numbers. So if the sale numbers are there, why fight it then?
Well, but they what they want to do, I don't think they understand the community that they're marketing to. Is they want to make things so broad they sell not only to quote unquote hardcore gamers but also to casual gamers. This is why we're seeing what's generally referred to as the dumbing down, or the more making things more accessible of games, like Dead Space 3 being a big one recently, where they've taken more or less survival horror series, whatever your opinion on that would be, Shay, into essentially a Call of Duty in space with monsters.
I feel like that's how it was from the start, honestly.
Yeah, it's homogenizing though. It's complete. They're completely homogenizing like all of their main core games.
Well, to EA's credit, actually, like I don't know if that's the same, these days, but a few years back, like they're getting a lot of good press from like the journalists because EA compared to other developers, instead of like rehashing franchises, they're putting out brand new IPs that were really experimental.
Yeah.
We had Mirror's Edge and we had the first Bad Company, which like explored a bunch of different things, and also one that you just mentioned, yeah, Dead Space, the first Dead Space. That was really different for them.
But recently, in the last, say, 5 years, they've taken all of those IPs and things like that, and they've kind of made them into one kind of homogenous, bland mess. And
I know you said this about Dragon Age 2 also, because
fuck that.
like Wilson just mentioned BioWare. They came out with Dragon Age 1, which was like absolutely
Dragon
that
Age
took the
1
market by storm. That was like a
Dragon-
fucking like
Dragon
sweet-
Age 1 was, I mean, obviously the successor to Baldur's Gate, but it was targeted towards like a D&D style like RPG market, like really, really classical RPG stylings. And they took that and made it into like just this generic hack and slash combat.
Okay, so why do you say that? Is
But-
that because of the presentation or because of the actual mechanics?
The presentation changed completely, and I don't really mind that. I mean, the textures were bland, and I don't think it looked as nice. But the actual mechanics of the game, or weapons that were like giant battle axes and swords, became like paper, and they were being tossed around. You're doing backflips and spinning crap like you're fighting. One of the things I saw in a developer interview around the time was one of the lines was, "Press X, epic happens." And that's what they're trying to get with. They just want every little thing to be epic. But if you try to make everything epic, nothing's going to be epic. It's just going to be bland.
But I mean, like also like the
That's
argument for
true.
like making everything epic. That means the things that are epic in the epic universe are the most epic things ever. Like for example, Gurren Lagann.
Yeah. Every episode ups the epic.
Yeah, but for example, though, like with the like you were saying with the Dragon Age series, like I don't feel the same way about Dragon Age 2 being. I don't feel like it's a dumbing down at all. Because for one thing, the storytelling was way more advanced compared to the first one. Because the first one was your classic.
Yeah,
There's an evil force. We're going to stop it. The second one was so different for games in general. It was I love that about it. It was amazing.
I think they could have gone about it better though. I think it felt really weak. Each of the thirds felt very separate from one another, and
It wasn't set to be. It wasn't set to be like climactic like other ones. It was more like we're talking about Game of Thrones the other day. How it's like a slowly building up plot.
Yeah, it's just
That's
a
how I
portion
felt
of yeah.
yeah, but
That's how I felt about all throughout Dragon Age 2. I was like, man, they're just building up, building up. Like, there's nothing really happening. Like, there's a little bit of overall arc.
the
But,
problem
like, more or less, they're just building up this hero's like background and stuff like that. And I thought that was
the
really
problem
cool.
is that I didn't experience when I played it a build up. Like I felt things were happening, blah blah blah, and I there was no sense that everything was building up to one thing until this massive, giant, completely out of nowhere climax started by Anders, who up until that point was kind of like a useless side character that they'd utterly ruined from Dragon Age Awakening.
Right.
And suddenly he comes out of nowhere, sets off whatever the hell it is, and brings into motion a huge set of events that, I mean, I imagine they're going to expand upon in the third game, but I think that ultimately made Dragon Age 2 like a Dragon Age 1.5.
Well, and
Well,
a
as
lot
far
of
as
people,
like, yeah. Okay, go
what
ahead.
you'll find is a lot of people said that about Mass Effect 2, and now a lot of people will say that Mass Effect 2 is their favorite Mass Effect. 1 set everything up, 3 didn't close it the way they wanted, but Mass Effect 2 made you feel like it was just a portion. You had time to explore because nothing was like really threatening at that moment.
That was my big
Whereas 1 and
complaint. That was my big complaint with Mass Effect 2 as well, is that there was very little story. It was just ally gathering, and that's all it was. I mean, they had that in Mass Effect 1, but they also had it layered on with story.
Well,
Whereas-
however, at the same time, like when they're making Mass Effect 2, they're not trying to make just a completely self-contained story. They know they have a trilogy to go
Yeah,
with.
yeah,
So
oh, I know
why
that.
can't the second one be like the team building?
And I feel like that. No, I actually personally feel that 2 was the best. I have the most.
Yeah, I felt
fun
that
playing.
was super cool.
no,
The team building thing was
I do
amazing.
agree.
Characters is everything to me.
I do agree, but characters to me aren't everything. To me, like the story, the plot line and narrative, is marvels me. And I felt that the complete lack of progression in 2. I mean, there was a whole ton of it at the end. Don't get me wrong, but for the vast majority of the game, it felt like nothing was really happening.
I don't think there was nothing
place to
happening to the
place,
end.
gathering
They kept
things.
hinting at I mean, the whole time you have the collectors and stuff like that, which is kind of like the whole point. You're collecting these team members just to investigate the collectors, right?
Yeah, but it seems relative to the whole thing. It seems kind of like a back of the hand sort of plot line. Like it's there, but it's ultimately not. It's interesting, but not to the point that they had to expand on it in a game that's 20 to 30 hours long.
What they did do right in Mass Effect 2 though was the mechanical improvements. Holy
Yes.
shit!
Oh yeah, definitely.
Holy shit!
Much funner gameplay. I like that there was actually ammo this time around, but I felt my favorite gun in Mass Effect 1 was the pistol. But I felt like
Overall,
it was
just
useless. in Mass
pure
Effect 2.
mechanic wise, why do you think the gameplay was better than 1?
I think the weapons felt more real, and it felt like I was really doing damage. Everything wasn't like I couldn't just take out my pistol and just spam the crap out of everything like I did in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, Mass Effect 1 is a game. The combat Mass Effect 1 I just endure.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it. I have no real enjoyment in it. I love the game, but it's purely based on story, and I'm really just playing it to get my save over to number 2 and 3.
Yeah, I remember when you were first playing that, you were like pulling teeth to try and finish that game to get to
Yeah,
the second
now
one.
I've played it what 5-6 times since then.
Mhm.
But it's to me, it's not like I don't get any joy out of the fight portions. It's just the exploration aspect and being involved in this universe and that sort of thing that I'm really into. But
Anyway, it's
2
interesting
seems to
that-
bring
okay.
all of that in for me.
Uh-huh.
And then 3, I mean, 3 would have been like the ending marred it for me enough to really mess it up. But other than that, I would have said it was like a perfect trilogy to me. I was really into it. But one thing about this I wanted to bring up is with 3, they actually had the casual setting, which basically was more or less all you have to do is be, pressing the buttons and you'll win.
Mhm.
Because it's a purely sort of story-based experience there.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on that? Mass Effect ran the gamut. They've got Insanity mode, which everyone knows can be quite a bitch.
I did beat
And
1
then-
and 2 on Insanity, so.
Sorry?
Oh, excuse us. Excuse
I-
us, Kyle, for bringing it up even.
I did beat 1 and 2 on Insanity. I went back last year or last fall and played them both under Insanity.
Yeah, I'm on my insanity on number 2. I'm never fucking with the settings on number 1. Game's too clunky for me to ever want to try it on harder difficulty.
It's interesting that like we're all in consensus about like the mechanical improvements in 2 being amazing, and like I think I said before, like the mechanical improvements in Bioshock 2 were amazing over the first one, but how come like the mechanical improvements in Dragon Age 2 feel like they detract from the game for you?
Okay, Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 would be like going from Dragon Age 2 to Dragon Age 1.
No, not at all.
There was
Complete opposite. Okay, let me explain
There was
why.
so much more substance to the combat, into the leveling up and the level.
I think it's. I'm going to say this without trying to sound super insulting, but I think it's just in your head, honestly, because like with Dragon Age 2, the combat system was, I'm pretty sure it was like almost identical with the exception of like how healing was handled, like potion healing. I mean, but all they did was make they made it more spring loaded instead of like they made crowd control easier. They made crowd control more intuitive.
By doing that, they made a hack and slash game as opposed to where like I was setting up my
But it was all superficial though. The system underneath was exactly the same. They just made it look different.
Yeah, but it was the same and it was there. But they made it useless because you could just go up to your enemies, hack and slash for 10 seconds, and kill them.
Dude, I do not know about you. I cannot do that in that game. I have to strategize constantly in like Dragon Age 2 when you're playing on Nightmare mode. I didn't hack and slash shit, man.
That's all I did in Dragon Age 2 was hack and slash. In Dragon Age 1, I was able to like take advantage of tactics and all that. And I tried doing that in 2, but it was, it took, you get like a 5-minute fight. You can do it in 10 seconds just by hacking and slashing.
I definitely play a different game than you then, sir. I'm just saying.
That's how I feel about when people are like, oh, Mass Effect 1 is just ridiculously easy. I'm like, what the fuck you playing, man?
Yeah, okay. Like, like I said, crowd control was more intuitive. Battlefield, just positioning yourself in that battlefield made way more sense in Dragon Age 2. Because in Dragon Age 1, like, you spend so much time, like, fucking around with your character's weird movement and trying to get, like, a backstab in if you're playing a rogue. And, like, they do that weird, like, once you get, like, combat movement, they act even more weird, was, like, really fucking weird. But I think in 2, all it did was make the mechanics more polished. And not polished in the bad way, like we were talking about, games with their charm of imperfection. But polished as in, like, just taking the design and keeping what works and making little improvements that would just tweak it a little bit farther, to make it more close to their idea.
We're gonna keep disagreeing on this one. So want to move on to something else, or?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Welcome to the Kyle Rothfuss podcast, everyone. Let's move on along now.
Sorry. You're not gonna get me to agree on Dragon Age 2. I won't. I don't like the game.
No, I'm with
all.
him.
I'm not trying to
with him on
We're just arguing for the sake of
I don't know.
Pre-Jack, there you go.
Anywhere with it.
So, in other words, pre-Jack?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't pre-Jack shit now. It's the after show. Fuck you guys.
I don't care. It's
That
just
ship
like,
sailed.
There was one topic I didn't get to because I don't know, for some reason we like just stayed on topics for a long time this time.
Yeah.
But I had one last thing which I was looking forward to getting to, especially since we have Suzu on the show. So I'm like hoping that she'll put some input on this because I want to know like what an inside perspective on it would be. Inside looking out. The Asian thing. What is with the Asian thing? I know this sounds weird coming from me because people assume that I have the Asian thing. I don't have the Asian thing.
You really do seem to have it, though.
I know, right? It seems like it, but I don't have the Asian thing.
You can't blame people for assuming that.
I know. You can't blame that at all. I completely understand. But yeah, what's with the Asian thing? I want to get the guy's opinion and the girl's opinion.
what do you mean?
I want to know what a butthurt white girl thinks about it. I want to know what a girl on the inside
What are
thinks
you
about it.
talking about?
What's
I think you might need to better explain.
White girl?
Meanwhile,
You mean
Kyle's
the
like, what are
obsession with
girls?
Asians?
Yeah, you know how like
What?
so many guys just have an Asian thing, right? I'm like, what is with the Asian thing? I mean, for the most part, I'm going to just say it. Most of the Asian girls I have met are annoying as piss.
Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome, Suzu. I love you. You know what? A lot of that thing is like, people think I have an Asian thing, but I don't. I think it's more of a cultural thing. I think Western culture makes girls really annoying and like unappealing.
That's true.
So when you meet
They
someone
really
like,
are.
so even if someone's like Asian, like if you meet like fucking like whatever, say if they're like they're really cultured or whatever, and they have lots of Western influence or whatever, they shit like that, like yeah, they're just really less appealing to me. It's not the race at all. I don't understand why people just like fucking like want to like eat the shit of Asian chicks all the time.
So are you like an apologetic American?
Am I?
Are you?
I don't think it's my fault. I think it's hip hop culture's fault.
What?
No, but I mean, because
I say this all the time, dude. Hip hop culture ruined chicks for tons of people.
Why? What did hip hop culture do to anyone?
Yes. Hip hop culture is making everyone gay.
No, okay, actually, what you'll see now is like,
Got
for
that thug in
example,
love.
a lot of people's like you'll see. I don't know how to explain this without sounding absolutely gay, but the way a lot of people look at romance in general, it seems to be influenced by like what they see on TV or hear on the music. See, finally, these girls like, oh man, he's my boo, and it's like, this is guy you met like yesterday at school, and like it's like people like it's really superficial really superficial, like, you know, culture that comes out of it. And like the girls that are produced by that are really freaking unappealing to me
Yeah,
personally.
but I mean, okay, you're that's a broad freaking brush you're painting.
I know it really is. It really is. But I mean,
Like-
for the sake of, I mean, I could spend hours just trying to figure out, you know, how to make that more fair to say. But fuck that, we're on a podcast.
Like, I mean, oh well, I'm just gonna in reference to the hip hop thing. Like, I've got a ton of hip hop songs, and I don't know if "boo" is referenced once in any of them.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's radio, you know. But
that's the radio. I listen to
well, okay, but
stuff.
we'll bail on that one and just get back to what you were saying though about like because I could just see this going in circles. You know, I'm not gonna get into the whole radio versus.
Wilson just pulled the trapdoor card on that. Yeah, the Asian thing. No one really talked about the Asian thing.
Yeah,
Especially what
I don't really understand what you mean by it. I'm sorry. I don't either.
There's actually a phrase for it. It was a Harold and Kumar. I can't remember the
yellow fever.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, what's with the yellow fever? I don't get it. Why is it so rampant?
So, but are you
Yellow
saying
fever?
guys who are attracted to Asian women, guys who are attracted to Asians in like the culture and wish they were Japanese or whatever? What exactly are you?
Yeah.
I'm saying guys who are just like ridiculously into the Asian chicks. Period. See it,
Maybe-
shit,
Okay,
and it's
well-
like, oh man.
Well, maybe
Personally, like I find them attractive.
Yeah, sure, but you know, women are attractive,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and you'll find tons of guys like, yeah, I'm not into black chicks. Why, man?
I think they just really
Hot
want
black
to.
chicks are so fucking hot. Shit.
They just really want to inherit their father's Gundam. I think most things with Asians can be nailed down to Gundams.
I want my son to be a starfighter pilot. But yeah, Susan, what do you think about this?
I don't know.
She benefits from it.
Well, like you mean guys who only date Asian chicks?
Maybe, or like maybe you've talked to guys who
Or
like they just
wish.
take a special interest in you because you're Asian or something. Like, you know, especially on the internet, because you know that's where we all roll, or you know how we all interact. When you're like someone's like, oh man, an Asian girl, like then they're like all over you, like white knighting you and shit like that. Like what's like, as a girl on the inside of that, are you like, oh god, another one of those?
Sometimes.
Only when it's me.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
like some people are like they don't really care who you are. Just like they like the fact that you're Asian and not really
Yeah,
like
that's
Get to
exactly
know you
what
as
I'm
a
talking about.
person.
That's exactly what I'm getting to. Suzu just hit the nail on the head, you motherfuckers. You're so useless. Suzu, thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, but that's okay. But that's every woman's complaint everywhere, regardless.
No,
of being
but
Asian.
Suzu has a legitimate point. The other ones are just bitching and QQing when they should shut up and like. You
No,
know,
okay, yeah. So
Oh.
you say.
yeah, okay, seriously.
Yeah,
though.
no. That's true. Like, women, like, not that I get this, because I'm one of those hidden women that never speak to anyone. But, women get, like, they think that, you know, oh my god, he's only talking to me because I've got big boobs. Oh my god, he's only talking
Yeah,
to me
he
because
is.
I've got the big blue eyes. Or something like that. And what may seem to you is like, you know, a fad or whatever, may only be in your mind because that's what you're currently seeing at the moment. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, like all the
Uh,
millions of girls who are into me for my red hair. It's
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's troubling. I mean,
Yeah, they'll pick out a feature and they'll be like, you know, this is the reason why guys like me. So, well, girls in Wilson's situation.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know,
weird
guys
though. Like,
could
how
be
come
into
girls
people.
feel like that's a bad thing? Like, if guys realize that girls like them for a certain reason, we'll be like, "Fuck yeah!" That's so awesome to have this windmilling dick, you know, like shit like that. Like, but how come when girls have the same situation, they're like, "Oh, I have boobs that guys love." They're always like, "Ah, men are such pigs. They only like me for my boobs. I don't like me for my fashion sense or anything."
See, they could either be like that or they could be like, flaunting.
Or they
it
can be like,
even
fuck
more.
yeah, guys love my boobs. They can just appreciate it. They don't have to flaunt it. Like, I mean, I don't windmill my
But
dick in
there's
public.
like a fine line between that. Like, it's fine showing them off, but then totally flaunting them to an extent where you're obnoxious is just
Okay, but like,
annoying.
okay, back to the Asian thing. It's not like Suzu's flaunting her Asianness around.
Yeah, but she very
I
well
don't know.
could.
She could be.
She's not
But
going around
then
going,
again, like-
kawaii desu 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 to people. And
Yeah,
shit
but
like
she
that.
could.
Think about it.
And
Like,
there are
how
plenty
did
who
you
do.
guys introduce her to the show?
Exactly.
She's
Good
our
point,
Asian girl.
Emily.
She's
That's exactly why I'm bringing
she's
this
our
up,
real life
because-
Japanese girl.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks.
No,
Jay.
that's a very good point.
Which means the Asian thing is there. And I want to find out
Apparently,
why.
I'm a prick.
It's there for you because that's what you're viewing in the world at the moment.
No, I like Suzu not because she's an Asian chick. I could give a shit less about that. I like Suzu because her voice gives
we
me
know
comfort.
that, Shay. But that's
No,
what you
but
said.
I don't know that that's true.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know that that's true. How much, like, okay, I'll use myself as an example. I mean, I freaking practically got date rapey about getting her to call me senpai.
Uh-huh. That's also because of
I love that that's an adjective. That's great.
date rapey. Yeah. I mean, that's because of our hobbies, though. Like, our interests and stuff. Otaku culture. I know it's like an awful term to use, but we're so exposed to that kind of media all the time that that being called that actually gives us something that wouldn't give to any normal person.
But would it be the same if it were a white chick?
Yes, it would. I would love that to be from a white chick.
No, okay, but we'll guess.
You just broke up like shit, Wilson.
So on the next intro, can I be introduced as like our like token white guy or something?
Introduce who?
Introduced as like your token white guy. If Suzu's gonna be like our resident Japanese girl, why can't I be the resident German American guy?
No, because you're the Reddit correspondent.
What point do you think I am?
Speaking of which, I'm kind of disappointed by your lack of Reddit drops on this one. Well, according to Reddit, on when they're talking about Asian chicks.
I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
said according to
rethink
Reddit.
your position.
Well, you gave us like some insight to the Katua Shoujo thing. Giving us the updates on what they say in the Katua Shoujo subreddit. And actually, whenever we're talking about Terra, Cal's always dropping Reddit references.
Okay, that's true. I do follow the Terra subreddit. There's a lot of good news on there actually that you're like not gonna get on the NMAS site.
Very true, Mr.
Oh,
Reddit
sweet.
correspondent.
I'm just gonna download it.
Suzu, do you have any topics you would like to address?
Not really.
What are you wearing?
Shorts.